Why do some people judge others so harshly? Why does it feel like the loudest criticism often comes with the strongest emotions? Sometimes it's immediate. You see something, you want to react right there. You judge quickly and you say things like, "This is wrong. This should be like that. You should not act this way. I would never do that." It's easy to assume it's about the other person. We tend to condemn what they did, how they acted, what they represent. But sometimes it's not. Think about it. Sometimes what we react to others has something to do with us. Sometimes some things we haven't fully looked at yet. In today's reflection, I invite you to join me as we explore the quiet connection between judgment and self-awareness. Most of the time, we break down how sometimes we project what we struggle with internally. And we will discover why real growth begins when we turn that attention inwards. The goal is not to blame ourselves, but to understand ourselves more honestly. The question we don't usually ask in those moments when we are quickly judgmental of others is, why does this bother me so much? Not just on the surface, but deeper, we find the need to want to react. Because not everything triggers us the same way. Sometimes we notice and we move on. Other times, it stays with us. It may even irritate us. They stick with us, and that difference matters. Most people carry an idea of what they believe they are or who they're trying to become. And naturally, there are parts that don't fit that image because you're faking, you're not being real. There are traits we don't like, thoughts we push away, behaviors we try to avoid. So we often try to distance ourselves from them. But pushing something away doesn't mean it's gone. We are just shoving it. It just becomes harder to see until we recognize it somewhere else. In someone else's behavior, someone else's choices reminds us of those things, and suddenly it feels very visible. Sometimes some things we react to in others is connected to some things within us. Not always in the exact same way, but in a familiar way. When being judgmental, we see a reflection of something we haven't fully understood or accepted in ourselves. Judging people can create a kind of distance. It puts you on one side and the other person on the other. And for a moment, it can feel like clarity. It can feel like control, like certainty, but that feeling doesn't last. Why doesn't it last? Because when everything becomes about what's wrong with other people, there is less space to look at yourself. That's the problem. And over time, that behavior can create distance not just from others, but from your own growth. So, my dear friends, the next time something strongly triggers you, instead of being judgmental and putting other people down, asking what's wrong with them, I invite you to pause for a moment and ask this question. What is it about that feels so intense for me? This is not to judge yourself, but to understand why you are feeling the need to judge another person. And sometimes the answer will not be obvious. Other times, it's even going to be uncomfortable. Because the answer points to something you haven't fully faced yet. At that point, you realize it's you the problem. But that's also when honesty begins. Note that personal growth isn't just about being right or being better. It's also about being aware of your shortcomings, being willing to see yourself clearly, even when it's not easy. So before you try to judge someone, be reminded that everybody has a part of themselves they don't fully understand yet. And that's normal. But the more you're willing to look inward, and less you need to constantly look outwards for other people's fault, then you're beginning that healing. At that moment, something shifts within you. You shift from judgment to understanding. So let's close this reflection with this question. Have you ever experienced a moment where something you judge in someone else made you reflect on your own self and think, maybe it's about me? If you like this reflection, please share your thoughts below. And if you're new here, welcome. Please consider subscribing and joining my channel. Thank you for watching.